Good evening. My name is Chat Travieso, and my pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the panel chair for the Design Arts discipline, as well as a 2003 Young Arts winner in Visual Arts and a U.S. Presidential Scholar in the Arts. I join you tonight from Brooklyn, New York, which is the ancestral land of the Canarsie and Munsee Lenape. We acknowledge the original elders, past, present, and future.
My name is Mabel Johnson, and my pronouns are she, her. I am the panel chair of the Visual Arts discipline, and I am joining you tonight from Miami, Florida, which is the ancestral land of the Tequesta and Seminole people. And we acknowledge the original elders, past, present, and future.
My name is CORINNE, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm the panel chair for the photography discipline and a 1995 Young Arts winner in photography and a U.S. Presidential Scholar in the Arts. And I join you tonight from Cornwallville, New York, which is the ancestral land of the Mohican and the Haudenosaunee, and we acknowledge the original elders, past, present, and future.
We're excited to welcome you to the virtual 2021 National Young Arts Week Plus Design Arts, Photography, and Visual Arts exhibition opening. Tonight, you will meet some of the extraordinary artists we came to know during National Young Arts Week Plus.
Just a few weeks ago, they were immersed in a week-long intensive of virtual classes and interdisciplinary workshops with distinguished artists such as Paula Scheer in Design Arts, Ida Muheleni in Photography, and Titus Kiefer in Visual Arts. As you might imagine, a number of changes were implemented this year to ensure the safety and health of all participating artists, while still also aiming to provide them with the same young arts experience we pride ourselves in offering the next generation of artists. We send our participating artists art supplies, computers, software, hotspots, and cameras so that they could participate in the week fully.
We hope you enjoy the exhibition, and before we get going, I'd like to thank the panel and guest artists that have worked with the Young Arts Award winners. Thank you to the parents, family members, and guardians who support these artists year-round. We celebrate your unwavering encouragement and commitment and cannot thank you enough for all that you are doing.
We are also grateful for all the teachers and teaching artists tuning in this evening. We recognize you for all the work you have been doing and the ways you've been innovating to support your students.
We thank the generous individuals and partners who help Young Arts do this transformational work. Thank you to National Young Arts Week Plus and Together campaign supporters, including campaign chairs Sarah Arison and Thomas Willem, Jay Frankie and David Harrow, and Michi and Charles Jagarjan through 7G Foundation. Lead sponsors Sandra and Tony Tamer, generous individuals including Madeline and Mickey Arison, Dr. Sidney Stern in loving memory of Florence Stern, Bruce and Ellie Taub, David Deckman, and Michelle Marcure, and Young Arts' wonderful institutional partners.
If you would like to get involved and support Young Arts, please find more information in your program linked in the chat. Without you and all of our partners and friends, none of this would be possible. Please find more information by clicking Support in the main menu of our website.
Finally, it is our great pleasure to congratulate all of our 2021 winners. You have been inspiring us with your art, and we cannot wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so very much for joining us this evening, and remember to tune in again tomorrow, same time, same place, for the writers' readings.
Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine Wahi, and I'm a curator, visual activist, and an educator. I am beyond thrilled to be curating an exhibition of works by this year's cohorts of Young Arts winners. I had the esteemed pleasure of going through works from 3 different disciplines: visual arts, photography, and design. To say that I was impressed by the work that I encountered would be an understatement. I was floored by the level of both technical talent and conscientious conceptual prowess that each artist possesses. Admittedly, I did not have this level of self-confidence, awareness, or worldly understanding that these young artists do when I was that age. In fact, the jury is probably still out on whether I can match them even now, but I digress. What struck me about these artists is their awareness, again, of the world around them, and their understanding of the subtle but important nuances and complexities of the world that we live in. I was struck by the unfiltered candor and socio-political undertones present in each artist's work. Ultimately, what I realized about this collection of pieces as a whole is that they present a beautiful yet tragic full-spectrum pastiche of the American cultural landscape. All of the work is timely. Some of it's very beautiful and joyful. Some of it reflects some of the darker sides of our society. And as a collection, the work spans the gambit from micro-reflections and narratives to a macro lens on our intersecting societies. Some of the works, such as Nana Ampofo's Unbreakable, reflect a personal reality, yet one that is relatable to so many of us on many levels. Some artists, such as Andrew Harris and his work Love and Justice, are introspective musings that feel more relevant now that we are in the throes of a pandemic and many of us are in isolation. Other works, such as Sabine Croy's How We Raise Our Children and Whitney Toutenhoofd's Allegiance, are indicative of a shared collective reality. One that may be grim, but nonetheless is captured with a haunting beauty that both artists have managed to achieve. Finally, some artists, such as Eva Soryn Call's Our Oceans 2027, choose to look forward towards the inevitability of what a future with or without change could hold. The work that I saw in this process makes me incredibly hopeful, not only for the future of art and cultural production, but on a more expansive scale, for what the future as a whole holds. Pay attention to these young artists. They are the change makers that we need.
Hi, my name is Joyce He, and I'm a graphic designer from Livingston, New Jersey. For me, I remember being interested in graphic design as early as 5th grade. I had a lot of fun making PowerPoints and brochures for school assignments, as weird as it may sound, but I think the element of graphic design that really drew me in was problem solving, and that's what really set it apart from the art I had been doing growing up, like painting and sketching, which was more about provoking questions than actually answering them. And I think graphic design is not just about making things more aesthetic, but also making things more accessible and inclusive, whether that's making a sign that can be read by colorblind people or making a design for a t-shirt that people feel good about wearing and also proud of their own identity. And also just to make people happy. I love incorporating humor and playfulness into my work. And going off of that, I've always been really interested in typography and exploring the ways in which the semantics and aesthetics of text really come together through graphic design, and figuring out how that relationship between text and people. And one last thing I'd have to say is that I think my biggest takeaway from Young Arts Week is not only just the community, but also having more confidence in my art and really believing in my own vision. And for that, I'm really grateful. So thank you.
Hi there, I'm Soryn Call, and I'm a Young Arts Design winner, specifically for fashion design. My work is primarily devoted to this idea of consumption, or humans' constant need to consume, and that's anything from single-use plastics, material goods, food, knowledge, media especially. People are constantly inhaling as much as they possibly can in an attempt to have an experience as much as they possibly can, and the result is this crazy, chaotic, and honestly impressively detailed world. And as a fellow human that also has this constant need to consume, I've taken to observing and collecting as many of these weird patterns in human behavior as possible and calling them out in the form of wearable statement pieces, which honestly I find a bit ironic, is taking this idea of human consumption and turning it into clothing, which is a material good. So while my work is largely pertaining to this all-encompassing idea of human behavior, I also just like making beautiful and weird things. So I'll work in almost any medium from fabric, plastic, paper, wax even. I really love playing with geometric silhouettes and incorporating things from historical garments such as like skirt cages and corsets I really love to work with. And then I also like using clothing to mimic real world scenes. So fashion is this corner of the art world where you don't have to be an artist or a connoisseur in order to appreciate it and enjoy it. People tend to see like visual arts as belonging to or coming from an artist and not as a possession of their own. So if it's like a painting, we'll analyze the work and relate to it as an outsider looking in on this artist-to-art relationship. But in fashion, the wearer adopts its own artist-to-art relationship with the clothing. And that's just something I find really interesting and I hope to encourage in my work moving forward.
Hi, I'm Mabel. I am a junior from Springfield, Missouri. I started making my own clothes a couple years ago. I guess it was because I realized most of the clothes I was wanting to buy were too expensive and looked somewhat doable to make myself. I'm always learning through a continuous process of trial and error, which I feel like in a way is what motivates me the most to keep creating. The ability to construct something that you didn't even know you could imagine, and to make something out of nothing is what I find so powerful with fashion. As such a quiet person, I feel like I can really express myself through what I wear and what I make. My mom taught me to sew when I was little, and I remember taking patches from clothing my siblings and I had outgrown and sewing them into something completely new. Not only were we learning this lost skill, but more importantly, how to repurpose, which is something that I'm always striving and hope to incorporate in my own work.
Hello, my name is Rachel Lee and I live in Seoul, South Korea. I am a junior at Seoul International School. My design is called Bian, which is defined as a person's look or manner, especially one of a particular kind indicating their character or mood. Whenever I change my phone or even updated my software for my phone, I always had this question: why are there new emoticons every update? And why do we even use new emoticons when we text or call friends or families? There are so many different smiling emoticons, angry emoticons, and even crying emoticons to specific emoticons that indicate specific food, activities, or sports. We can call and text friends and families, but we always use those specific emojis that describe our tone or mood of the text. And I realized that there is a reason why we use those emoticons. It's because it's really hard to communicate our feelings and emotions toward the person who's at the other side of the phone, no matter how hard we try to explain what emotions we have when we talk. It is even harder to communicate our feelings when we are physically together. And I wanted to create a manual that leads people to learn and express a variety of facial expressions and capture their emotions every single day. Therefore, I created several different facial expressions that I use in specific situations and created a manual, an application, a poster, and a bag that fully engages people to express a variety of facial expressions. Bian is the most well-fit manual that helps people to practice a variety of expressions in daily life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm a finalist in Design Arts, and my work focuses in the realm of graphic design. I've been working in graphic design for about 2 years now, and I started because I really wanted to incorporate technology and softwares into my creative process. Since then, I've really fallen in love with the process of creative and visual problem solving, and I really love how expansive and multidisciplinary the field is because I found that the same style and form of thinking can be applied to fields even outside of the creative arts, and I find that so cool. In my own design work, I try to find practical yet creative and non-conventional solutions to the issues that are floating around me, whether that's increasing accessibility for the disabled, whether that's building more empathetic communities through education, or whether that's approaching social justice topics like climate change. For example, in my piece Alpha Hands, I introduced American Sign Language into the English alphabet in hopes that by combining the two, we can have children learn ASL while learning the alphabet so that we can have more empathy in communities by building understanding. I also like to play around with more conceptual and abstract ways of representation and design, and whenever possible, I'll incorporate traditional media, whether that's colored pencil, marker, or three-dimensional sculpture even, in my design work because I love the new possibilities that open up when I juxtapose traditional media with digital media. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jing McCann, and I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am a senior at Fox Chapel Area High School, and throughout my 4 years at Fox Chapel, I've developed a strong passion for metalsmithing. It became an expressive outlet for me. In 4th grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD. I often struggle with communicating my thoughts and feelings. Last year, I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder. Every day is a constant battle of frustration and the feeling of loneliness, along with societal pressures, negative self-talk, and insecurity. My portfolio consists of jewelry, wearable art, that is designed to communicate how stress and anxiety impacts me and takes a toll on my mental and physical health. Through an increasingly labor-intensive metal fabrication process and with the intentional use of nickel metal, they serve as statement pieces. My body of work creates an emotional and very intimate dialogue between the wearer and the art. Each piece is physically and conceptually restrictive, communicating the feeling of suffocation and entrapment, while at the same time incorporating the beauty and fragility of nature found in butterflies. The movement of the butterflies emphasizes the desire to escape from unwanted feelings. On a global level, I want to bring awareness to society with my art about mental health disorders and its impact on those affected. On an individual level, I hope to help others who are experiencing anxiety and depression to become empowered to express themselves and to know that they are not alone in this battle.
Hello, my name is Gonzalo Pena and I'm a design arts finalist. I was born in Peru and moved to the US when I was 11, and my design career started when I was 3 and got my first Lego set. I was really fascinated with how I could create this world inside my own world, and I could put these little Lego figurines into this environment that I had created and make them interact with things I had done. And this sort of affinity started growing and kept growing throughout elementary school and middle school, but I never really had a direct design sort of orientation until I got to high school. I attended the architecture program at Design and Architecture Senior High, in which I learned to draft and model make. And at first I just started making stuff, and as the years went along, I started focusing more on concept and sustainability, and I decided this restaurant called Necto. It's a Peruvian restaurant that it's a metaphor for the geography of Peru. So when you move from left to right, the first part, it's the coast, then the middle, the highlands, and then the third part is the tropical forest. So you kind of get a different sort of food from each section, and you explore all the different cultures that reside within Peru. And as you move along the building, which has 3 floors, the bottom one is more like accessible food and street food. As you move up, it starts going more contemporary and more gourmet food, more experimental. So you kind of move through time as you go up. So it's this, metaphorically, this exploration of Peru as you go along the building around it. And the walls are made out of container walls, which makes it sustainable. And these structures inspired by Cusco's Machu Picchu, which has these rocks that are imperfect yet fit perfectly with one another. And I was really captivated by that because it's still a mystery up to now. So I kind of wanted to explore that. So yeah, that's my direction up to now, just including a lot of myself into my work and focus on sustainability, which is a critical issue nowadays. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Clementine Smith. I am a winner in design arts. I primarily focus on fashion design. but I love to do a lot of things, as many of these artists do. So most of my pieces are based off of childhood experiences, things that I've learned growing up, that I've taken into adulthood with me now. So specifically with the piece that the curator shows for you to see that is next to me, is a piece based off of how violence in America is a lot more normalized than the female body or love, for that matter. I learned this, I think, at a younger age when I would go into theaters and I would be able to see movies with violence and guns and war, as a lot of kids were. But if there was a love scene or a naked woman, it was rated R and very taboo. And I think that's a big reason on why kids and people, for that matter, in America are very violent and just horrible and aggressive, is because they are taught this violence from such a young age, rather than normalizing and learning and educating about the love and the female body and things that should be normalized. So I would go more into depth with this, but I really only have 2 minutes, and there's so many beautiful young artists here. If you want to see more, there's the gallery space that will be up for the next few weeks. But anyways, thank you so much, Young Arts, for this incredible experience, and I hope that you'll see more work of mine in the future soon. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Addison Linck, a photographer from the A.W. Dreyfuss School of the Arts in West Palm Beach, Florida. In my own photographic work, I have utilized many vintage film cameras. I appreciate so much the build quality and ingenuity behind these vintage cameras. It became a goal of mine to restore vintage cameras and make sure that they continue to capture moments of people's lives, fractions of time that will be cherished by future generations. I have gone on to restore cameras belonging to my classmates as well as ones from significant points in history. I have learned the stories behind these cameras from both research and interviews with the families that have owned them. The stories that accompany these cameras have influenced my point of view as an artist. I have come away with a stronger understanding of my community, global history, and those who have come to shape it. This understanding is reflected in my own photographic work. I strive to utilize many of the same cameras and techniques that were introduced in the 20th and 21st centuries, putting myself in the shoes of those who came before me, which has made me look at the world in a whole new light. I have focused my photography on history. Each photograph is a glimpse into the past that the viewer must decipher for themselves, as each and every person has their own interpretation of the scene. In each of my photographs, the viewer must question exactly what is occurring in the scene depicted. The photographs are intended to raise questions such as, in what year was this image taken? Who is the figure seen in some of the images? And what are their intentions? The connection between these photographs is in the questions one raises to them. Each image brings about an emotion in the viewer that leaves them wanting to understand more of what is occurring in the scene. The images are simply a collaboration between the artist and the viewer to tell the story of each scene.
Hello, my name is Andrew Harris and I'm a winner in photography. I'm an 18-year-old photographer living in Lowell, Massachusetts. I was born in Liberia but moved here to the US when I was 9 years old. I started photography 2 years ago during my sophomore year of high school. Shout out Rowan Callahan, my wonderful photo teacher. Since then, photography has been a tool of expression and protest for me. My portraits focus on Black identity. I attempt to uplift and amplify the voice of the Black community around me through my imagery. Representation matters, and it is important to tell our truths and our story. I want to thank Young Arts for an amazing week and for recognizing my work. You can see more of my portraiture at andrewharris.photos. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Babayev. I am 17 years old and I'm from South Florida. I am a 2021 finalist in photography. When I think about my work, I think a lot about communal spaces. They're really prevalent in South Florida in these little beach town neighborhoods that I like to visit. In a lot of these communal spaces, it's really empty, and I found it to be ironic being alone in a space that is meant for a lot of people. And I kind of tied that into how I feel myself a lot. I feel kind of alienated and alone in a way when it comes to taking photos, as I shoot in a vacuum, if that makes sense. There's not many people I know who shoot film photography, but I digress. I think it's less about what I used to shoot and obviously more about the pictures. So in the pictures, there's a big subconscious reflection of who I am. You know, the concept of time and being in one place where many people have been before, in the future and in the past. In my photos, I like to capture almost a dreamlike quality, I'd say, where it feels half real, and it's like recollecting a memory from a long time ago. Kind of ambiguous, to be honest. I like ambiguity in photos, which is sort of controversial amongst the photo community, but I think it allows people to make connections. I really shoot photography to connect with other people. I want people to derive different emotions from my work. How for every person, I don't really want to tell you what to feel or what to think. I want you to decide that for yourself after you look at the pictures. And if it's nothing, then that's okay. But if you do recollect and see yourself in the scene, as you are the subject of my photography, the viewer, and that's really the main goal to it. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Diana. I'm a photographer, an activist, and a Young Arts photo finalist. A lot of my work has to do with my activism work and the different ideas that arise from being engaged with different communities in that way, trying to fight for justice and all the other things that comes with being an advocate for your community. A lot of my work has to do with gender, sexuality, and the image of a black person and how that's going to be perceived by others. The photo next to me is titled Blurring the Binary, and it's about the conflicts of the gender binary and what it means to be male, female, or the in-between, or not at all. So a lot of my work explores those different concepts. I hope later to keep exploring those different conversations around identity and what it means to be who we are. Later on, I'm hoping to create some bigger bodies of work that represent my different ideas in different lights, and I'm excited for all of that to come, and I hope that you enjoy the exhibition.
Hi everyone, my name is Whitney, and I'm from Boulder, Colorado. I started photography when I was about 11 or 12, but I've only done it very seriously in the last couple of years. And the work of mine that is included in this exhibition with Young Arts is from a body of work that I made in 2019 and 2020, looking at the impact of gun violence in schools through conceptual still life photography. Gun violence prevention is something that I have done a whole lot of work with in my own community and at the national scale. Colorado, where I'm from especially, has been hit so hard by gun violence, especially mass gun violence, and it's definitely an issue that is very close to my heart. And with these photographs, what I did is constructed these scenes that were reminiscent of classroom interiors using objects like a desk or a blackboard or a lunch scene, and then also incorporating symbols of school shootings such as bullet casings, or sort of in between, an anatomy classroom skeleton model. So I was definitely drawing upon the history of still life painting, still life photography, and trying to incorporate those same themes about mortality and death into a more contemporary context with my work, and something that's very timely.
Hi, I'm Baxter Chelsom. I'm a sophomore at Harvard Westlake, and my favorite genre of photography is candids, and this project is a series of mostly candids taken of my father, and it's in black and white because that's what his photos would look like when he was my age. I also included the black border to mimic the edge of the negative in his photos. I personally gave this project the title of Father and Family to represent the divide that the camera had caused over the years, and also during this project. This project reveals a lot about him, but also more about me, I think, because it shows the way he's affected me. Yeah, I had a great time at Young Arts, and it was inspiring and life-changing even over Zoom. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sabine Croy. I am 17, I am from Indiana, and I am a National Young Arts finalist in the photography discipline. And today I just wanted to come and share some inspiration behind my artwork and kind of why I chose the portfolio selections that I did, and just in general my motivations behind my art. But first of all, I just really wanted to thank our panelists, CORINNE Botts, Eric Godesman, and India Beal, and as well as our DC, Jordan Tiberio. So I guess to give some background about me and photography in general, I've somewhat grown up with it my whole life. My mom is an art educator herself, as well as a photographer, and so I've grown up with a passion like hers for art, and it has been something that has been really inspiring for me in my life. And I find photography as like my greatest means of expression. So I guess when I chose the portfolio pieces that I did, something that was very prevalent to me in my work is the theme of home and the word home in general, and this idea of dwelling in the spaces that we inhabit. And so most of the photographs in my portfolio are documenting that in general, and especially self-portraits and just documenting me in the spaces that I inhabit. And so for me, I guess most of the work that I do is black and white self-portraits, and that has been something that has really grown on me this past year. And I guess some of my biggest inspirations for artists would be Vivian Maier and Francesca Woodman and Sally Mann. And this week actually, David Hilliard was a huge inspiration for me in my artwork. And I continue to want to create work around this theme of home and what it means to dwell in these spaces. So that's just a little snippet of kind of my artwork, not always including me in it, but most of it does. So I just thank you for your time, and I hope you really enjoy the other artists' work that they created this week. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Josh Flowers, and I am based here in Dallas, Texas. And I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for viewing my work. Young Arts Week was such an amazing opportunity to meet other artists as well as industry professionals, and I've just gained so much insight and inspiration from my experience with the program. So a little bit about my work is I began collaging in March when we sort of first entered the whole quarantine situation. I felt that I didn't really have many subjects to capture due to limited gathering sizes, social distancing protocols. So I started photographing myself, and in order to sort of contextualize what I was using my photography for, I started using collage. So I would cut up magazines, utilize construction paper, and I really love to play a lot with shape and texture and color in my work. And so I hope that you can see that in the pieces that are being presented here today. But yeah, through my work, I really just wanted to use it as sort of a lens for my own discovery, like my own self-discovery, because I was dealing with a lot of important themes in my work, themes of isolation, mental health, Blackness, racism, identity as a whole. And so I really tried to capture that through what I was creating, because, you know, we were dealing with a lot, an unprecedented pandemic, and then not to mention later in the summer months, this sort of racial awakening in our country. And so I hope that the authenticity of my experience is lived out through the artwork that you guys are seeing. And I just hope that through what I've created, people can find a bit of themselves in it. I know it's self-portraits, but I just really hope to increase universality in the art world through what I've done. So I hope you like my work. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Alyvia Luong, and I am 1 out of 10 national photography finalists in Young Arts this year. Photography has become a way for me to speak when I used to feel like I had no voice. Its importance to me as an art medium remains unwavering even when I go through times of major creative block. My work explores into the idea of healing through art as a way of coping with trauma. I went through some very harsh events in the past year, and my Young Arts concept became a way of documenting and working through the emotional impact of these events. Moreover, it was like finding something good out of a tragic event. I feel like using the camera as a way and a tool for documentation and healing has made me more appreciative of the small things in life and the art that surrounds me. Overall, I'm really grateful for the experience Young Arts has granted me through getting to know all the other finalists and building more connections to art world, as well as receiving feedback from well-known artists. Thank you, Young Arts.
Hi, my name is Quoc Bui. I'm a visual art finalist. I'm born in the US, raised in Vietnam, and is currently attending Interlochen Arts Academy. What I make as of now is focus on the idea of being a space entertainer, where the pieces are there to transform the space. My body of works consists of integrated, intuitive, and brief thoughts about things happening around me. And that involves a lot of questioning to what I am doing at the moment, deep reflective thoughts happening simultaneously with a few other ideas, and a combination of listening to these maximalist music with harsh and bright sounds. All of these would then be translated into the piece. And through various systems and certain ways of colors that I use, I try to translate narratives of what's happening around me and in me into my works for the viewers. I believe that as I make my works, things will start to get clear in the sense that I will understand what I created in a different way.
Hi everyone, this is Alice here. I'm currently a senior at Interlochen Arts Academy. I'm studying visual arts over there. This year I'm a visual arts finalist, and my work mainly revolves around the idea of home and also family relationships. In this piece, My Daughter, it talks about a time during quarantine when my mother talked about me as an example for her students. She is a counselor, and it gave me this feeling of the suffocation of the identity of a daughter, but also the warmth of her praise. So in this installation with the 6 feet crocheted red tube, it engenders the feeling for the audience when someone comes in and looks up at this porcelain tile, which is has My Daughter in Mandarin repetitively ingrained in the tile. In this next piece, Reattachment, I explored the breaking texture of porcelain, and also as a symbol of the deconstruction and reconstruction of my relationship with my mother. And for restrictions, I talk about the regulations that my mother puts on me and how I try to fit into this perfect mold. The red yarns is a symbol of these regulations, and it goes from a process to from acceptance to escape. And throughout my work, the color red is a symbol of my mother, and through my work I want to reach the audience to say that please don't ignore the importance of family and home in one's identity. And I want to encourage more conversations about this topic, and thank you very much for listening.
Hi and hello. My name is Nana Ampofo, and I am a first-generation college student. Who am I? I am a daughter, I am a sister, I'm an educator, and most importantly, I'm an artist. When I think about my art, I use my art as a form of healing, as a form of moving on from a traumatic past. I also use my art as a form of education. The piece you see here represents the bond between me and my mother. My mother is 95% of my being, and the other 5% I would say is myself. Everything she is who I am. And in this piece, I pay homage to my mother and her strong willingness to fight through domestic violence, to be a single mother of 5, but most importantly, to motivate me to pursue my dreams. In my art, I like to talk about a lot of difficult conversations that I feel that is important to many people my age. I like to talk about issues of homelessness that I have faced, issues of abuse, issues of sexual assault, issues of mental health, But instead of dwelling in the past, I use my art as a form of moving forward, as a form of understanding that everything is going to be okay. You just have to have faith. You just have to have determination, hold yourself accountable, and to have willpower. I hope that one day, as Martin Luther King said, we can be together as one in peace. But for us to do that, we have to be at peace with ourselves. We cannot take care of others if we have not taken care of ourselves. And through the arts and my love for arts education, that is how I practice my self-care. That is how I take care of myself. And hopefully, I'd like to inspire many other people and tell them that everything's going to be okay. You just have to have a little bit of faith. And so again, this piece is to honor my mother, Mary Ampofo, mother who immigrated from Ghana of West Africa to America to raise 5 kids on her own. She has gone through a lot. As I mentioned, domestic violence. And not only that, she has raised a son who suffers from sickle cell anemia. She has raised a daughter who has suffered from sexual assault. And even with these challenges, my mother still perseveres and still educates others. She has taught me the importance of persevering and teaching others. So everything I am is to her. Thank you. I appreciate you looking at my piece and my peers' piece and taking the time to be present at our show.
Hello, my name is Cherline Philogene and I'm from New World School of the Arts. My work focuses on the identity and my identity as a Black Haitian female artist living in America. I find many difficulties between these two different cultures that I'm exposed to through many in different areas of my life, and I explore that through my artwork. In my artwork process, I like to lay down a base or a painting, and then I like to use different layers of image transfers, fabrics, herbs, leaves, to add on to that, to translate what I'm trying to say with my work, to enforce that using these different materials. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Perlman. I use they, them, theirs pronouns, and I am a senior at Design and Architecture Senior High. I make performance and installation artwork about my experiences as a non-binary transgender person. It is really important for me to note that my work is deliberately about trans joy. Right now, so many of the narratives about trans experiences that dominate media are about trans suffering and trans pain. And while having a thorough understanding of our history is incredibly important and vital, I also make work as a way to challenge that, to imagine a future for trans folks, one of liberation. I read this quote once, and I don't remember where it's from exactly, but it goes something along the lines of, God made trans people for the same reason they made wheat and not bread, and grapes and not wine, so that we all may join in an act of divine creation. So thinking about trans bodies and trans experiences like that as inherently holy. So I'm thinking about ritual, about religion, about fabric and cloth, but also about the inherent performance of gender identity and expression, how those all intersect, about the holiness of theater, about the performance of religion, about these rituals that we take in our daily lives that impact the way that others perceive us and how we perceive ourselves. But it is also very important for me to have an understanding of the past, right? Of the depictions of trans and gender nonconforming bodies and folks that have come before me, and both honoring and challenging that past when I'm fighting for a better future. Thinking of those who come before me, the trans people of color, the Black trans women who fought so that I can make work about my experiences. Honoring them, but both challenging what's come before. I really hope you enjoy my work. Thank you so much.
I'm Gretsy Moreno, and I am a Miami-based painter. I originally come from Cuba, and my work has to do a lot with self-discovery and self-reflection, and that is something that I want to create a space for. And in my work, I just really want to achieve that through the creation of an atmosphere and allow for these characters to develop their own narratives, because it is important for them to take their own shape and just develop organically without me having to affect them too much, affect their lives too much. And it's just a layer upon layer of complexity and deeper thought, deeper meaning, just like reality. That's what I want to create. I want to create a sense of reality without having to paint a realistic face. That is at all what I want to achieve. I just want to create that sense of entrapment and enclosure, but trying to, at the same time, discover self-identity or self-purpose. And these paintings are just that visual journey through that for myself. And I hope that it does for other people. Evoke self-discovery and a moment of self-reflection. I typically don't plan my paintings so much because I think that that is important for them to be successful, for them to create their own spaces and their own thing, their own statement. Yeah.
Hey, my name is Daniela Lopez. I am a queer, interdisciplinary Colombian American artist currently based in Miami. The work that I make focuses on analyzing, documenting, and actively engaging with my family in order to dismantle our non-communicative ways. The need for internalized healing within my family and myself drives my practice. I hope to inspire hard conversations and realizations about the topics that I discuss, as they are often ignored and brushed off.
Hi, my name is Jalynn McDuffey, and I'm a 2021 Visual Arts finalist. My work is centered around Black people and how Black self-identity and existence is constantly affected and shaped by discrimination, racism, and stereotypes. I used mixed media and portraiture to display the contrasting composition of the Black daily struggle of self in America. 3 pieces were selected: My Brother's Keeper, Lookalike, and White Muzzle. These pieces are very, very special to me. My Brother's Keeper came in a very volatile moment of my life when I realized that my brother is a Black man in America. How just like George Floyd or Trayvon Martin, he can be shot down, discriminated against, and demonized in the media when I see him as my small, cute little brother who plays video games and likes to cook with me. It came in a very volatile moment where I had to realize that in this country, he is not safe, despite how loved he is. The next piece, Lookalike, is my cousin, and how while I was trying to learn how to paint and focus on displaying skin and characteristics in detail of every single person that I paint, people kept thinking that he was somebody else who may have had the same hairstyle or maybe even wasn't the same skin tone. It made me realize that Black people are constantly lumped together and combined and not given an idea of self and identity and individuality that we need, and that we need people to realize in order to see that the struggles that we go through are personal. The last piece, White Muzzle, is very important, explaining how Black men are constantly faced with sexual assault and how they're less likely to speak up because of the idea of Black men being strong and hard and unemotional. These pieces are so important to me because they express deep thoughts of Black people. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jebreel Bessiso. I am a Young Arts finalist in the category of Visual Arts. My artistic concentration concerns my estrangement from my heritage. As someone with roots in both Palestine and Honduras, I felt at times estranged from both sides of my heritage, having seldom visited Honduras and having never visited Palestine. A large part of my concentration also entails what I felt was my silence on the issues that Palestinians face, the oppression and apartheid they face at the hands of Zionists, and investigating whether this perceived silence was as a result of my estrangement from heritage. This particular piece exhibited, titled The Ideal, represents my vision of what an ideal version of myself would be like in the sense of being more connected with my heritage. There are two illustrations of me depicted, one being more connected with my Honduran heritage and the other with my Palestinian heritage. As for my Honduran heritage, I am depicted farming, which is a common job and practice in Honduras, and wearing a traditional Honduran sombrero. And on the other side, there is myself wearing a traditional Palestinian kufiya, rebuilding a playground in Gaza that was destroyed after repeated Zionist siege in Gaza. And in the middle, I am standing, writing in my sketchbook, with a gray background depicting an estrangement and distance from my heritage. The final two panels are scenes where I am blurring between this ideal version of myself and this realistic version of myself. A sort of middle area that is not very clearly defined. And hopefully, through this piece and through the other parts of my concentration, I hope to shape a more cohesive image of myself in relation to my heritage and to more fully, deeply understand who I am. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rabecca Bohanan. I'm from Broken Bow, Oklahoma. I am a Young Arts finalist for visual arts. My artwork is talking about different types of neglect that I see in my community and how usually these things that go on that you just like normally would happen, but it happens so often that you begin to ignore it, not acknowledge it, and how it's almost like a continuous cycle of neglect and abuse and just different types of pain. And so this piece that is going to be shown is Equate Light Shampoo is Too Expensive. That piece is talking about a friend of mine that I knew for a long time. She struggled with lice, and you know, like most Native kids do, it's like it was too expensive for her parents to get because they didn't really care about that. You know, she got so much that, or it was such a big issue that, you know, they just gave up on trying to treat it. And that's how most families are, because it's such a big issue. But mostly it was talking about how we had to deal with that pain and that neglect and that issue as young children, and how those resources were just not available for everyone. And I remember as kids, you know, like the upper class kids that could take care of that, you know, they were like, ew, you know, you're gross, and tried to like get you away and like just be like, ew, get away from me. And so like you always felt bad about like your circumstances that you had no control over. And so that's Equate Light Shampoo was Too Expensive.